top 10 Super Bowl scandals that shocked the public. Starting off with number 10, the iconic, the legendary Prince. The NFL played it safe with halftime performances in the 2 years following the oddly infamous Nipplegate in 2004, followed by performances by an aged Paul McCartney and an equally aged Rolling Stones, neither of whom were the provocative haymakers they once were. They ventured slightly outside the norm in 2007 with Prince, who, despite his age, has always been adept at challenging convention. Even though Prince's Emmy-nominated halftime show was recently ranked number 3 on Rolling Stone's all-time list, it wasn't without controversy. Prince's silhouette was projected onto a huge flowing cloth at some point during the performance, covering up the petite singer. Naturally, a performance by Prince, the man we used to know as the artist formerly known, would not be complete without at least a little scandal. This time the scandal came into the form of a perceived phallus created in the shadow where Prince's body met his guitar. This shocked many people who are very easily shocked by things and resulted in few viewer complaints to CBS. On to number 9, Janet and Justin Timberlake. It's hard to believe that a wardrobe malfunction didn't exist prior to Super Bowl 38 in 2004, given how common the term is today. The aftermath of the halftime show, during which Justin Timberlake ripped Janet Jackson's top to reveal her bare breast, is the source of the phrase's etymology. It was MTV's second halftime performance in a row and possibly its last. According to the Chicago Tribune, more than 540,000 viewers contacted the Federal Communications Commission following the Super Bowl regarding the incident, which led to a $550,000 fine split between each of Viacom's 20 CBS stations. Regardless of whether the alleged error was intentional or, as Timberlake stated, not intentional and regrettable, Jackson and Timberlake experienced 2 distinct types of fallout in the wake of the scandal. Jackson, who had been placed on the blacklist by Viacom and others, was the target of irate remarks. Despite Timberlake's rise to fame following NSYNC, he largely avoided prolonged backlash. Do you think this malfunction was staged or accidental? I mean, regardless of the intent, I don't think Janet deserved all the backlash she got. It felt very misogynistic to me. But then again, let me know what you think in the comments. Number 8, Ray Lewis. Ray Lewis, a Ravens linebacker, was in Atlanta to watch Super Bowl 34, in which the St. Louis Rams defeated the Tennessee Titans in January 2000. Despite the fact that he did not participate in the game, he still stole headlines the following day. If you thought the NFL had a bad year in 2014, 1999 to 2000 was also bad. Lewis arrested on suspicion of a double homicide following an early morning altercation outside a nightclub in which 2 men were stabbed. This occurred just 6 weeks after Ray, a former wide receiver for the Carolina Panthers, was arrested and charged. Lewis was released on bail, and according to Larry Stewart of the LA Times, the men fled in a limo, firing at least 5 gunshots as they drove away following the incident. The only thing we can be sure of is that Lewis was not ultimately charged. What actually transpired the fateful night in Atlanta is still the subject of speculation and discussion to this day. He was given a 12-month probation after pleading guilty to misdemeanor. Later that same year, Lewis also received a $250,000 fine from the NFL. Number 7, mighty misbehaving 85 Patriots. The Patriots have a long history of scandal. In point of fact, franchise and scandal are now so well known that the Pats are norm. A long-standing regular who is greeted with the collectively boisterous and welcoming Norm scandal is like the bar on Cheers, whenever he enters, which is every day. Nowadays, scandal is frequently stoked by the Patriots' irksome level of success, which dates back to 2001. But in '85, they were just a group of underdogs trying to shock the world with their lack of a Lombardi trophy. However, they made up for their lack of championships that season in drama. You can call the unruly behavior of then general manager Patrick Sullivan during and after an upset victory over the Raiders in the divisional round a bump. Their path to Super Bowl 20 was bumpy. After verbally abusing Oakland players for the majority of the game, Sullivan rushed onto the field at the end of regulation to confront future Hall of Fame defensive end Howie Long. Matt Millen, a future linebacker in the Hall of Fame, got involved, and according to Hartford Courant reporter Jeff Goldberg, Sullivan staggered away with a split forehead. All-Pro wide receiver Irving Fryer, who claimed he had a sliced pinky finger putting away a kitchen knife, missed the Pats' flight to Miami before the AFC Championship game against the Miami Dolphins. The plot quickly unraveled. Then, Fryer said that his injury happened when his wife, who was 5 months pregnant at the time, stabbed him in retaliation for striking her. He was sent home, so he didn't go to the game. The Patriots won another unlikely game to make it to the Super Bowl, where they were defeated 46-10 by the Bears. Unfortunately for New England fans, the drama did not end there. 2 days after the loss, a shocking report said that up to a dozen past players had substance abuse problems, 5 of which were said to be serious. Puts Deflategate in perspective, doesn't it? Number 6, Stanley Wilson. Stanley Wilson, a fullback for the Cincinnati Bengals, was getting ready for Super Bowl 23 with his team. It seemed like a good idea at the time. Wilson informed a few of his teammates at 8 p.m. the night before the Bengals game against the San Francisco 49ers that he had forgotten his playbook and promised to retrieve it from his hotel room and meet them at their meeting location. Wilson's substance abuse habit would once more take over that evening after he had been suspended for the entire 1987 season. Before sending someone to retrieve him, his teammates waited for more than 20 minutes. Wilson did not return as promised, however, he had fallen back. According to the Cincinnati Enquirer's Paul Doherty, in Wilson's room at the Holiday Inn in Plantation, Florida, a few miles north of Pro Player Stadium, running backs coach Jim Anderson discovered him in the bathroom. Wilson was shaking and sweating profusely. His upper lip and nose showed white powder. Yikes. And he was disqualified from the NFL for life for his 3rd offense. Number 5, Super Bowl 43. Comcast viewers in the Tucson area were treated to a 30-second clip that did not meet the game's traditional broadcasting standards during Super Bowl 43, which was held at Tampa, Florida's Raymond James Stadium. Without getting too unambiguous, a then obscure party hacked into the Comcast framework, permitting the previously mentioned obscure party to air an unedited obscene clasp for about 37 seconds. The cable company offered outraged viewers a $10 credit, claiming to be mortified and appalled in subsequent statements, according to the Associated Press. Following the Super Bowl, the scandalous video quickly caught the attention of both the FBI and local Arizona law enforcement. The FBI announced almost exactly 2 years later that it had identified Frank Tenori Gonzalez, a former employee of Comcast, as the likely perpetrator. Gonzalez made a guilty plea to 2 counts of tampering with evidence related to the incident in October 2011. Number 4, Super Bowl 23. The Atlanta Falcons were in Miami in January '99, getting ready to face the Denver Broncos in the Super Bowl. Players probably went to bed early the night before the game to get a good night's sleep. The men from Atlanta would be well rested to participate in the most important game of their lives in that scenario. However, one Falcon couldn't resist making one final late night trip to a seedy section of the city where most of the team had been spending the week. Coach Dan Reeves received an unfortunate phone call as he was brushing his teeth and getting ready for bed. A shocking revelation came from the person on the other end of the line, Eugene Robinson, who had just won the Bart Star Award, which is given to athletes who are good people, had been arrested. Robinson was caught by an undercover police officer who he tried to give $40 for an act of prostitution. Robinson's arrest, despite the fact that he was permitted to participate in the game, sparked a media storm the following morning. The ultimate game day distraction. Not just for the team either. Robinson's wife and 2 children attended the Super Bowl together in Miami. The Broncos eventually prevailed 34-19. Number 3, M.I.A.'s $1 million middle finger. Madonna headlined the Super Bowl halftime show in 2012, accompanied by LMFAO, Nicki Minaj, CeeLo Green, and of course M.I.A. If that lineup isn't a recipe for a big hot mess, then I don't know what is. When she kissed Britney Spears and to a lesser extent Christina Aguilera at the VMAs a decade ago, Madonna may have been devising schemes to troll the 100 million people who watch her show. M.I.A. on the other hand is all too willing to imitate Madonna's foolish publicity stunts by flipping the bird directly into the camera on the field at Lucas Oil Stadium. Madonna, for her part, expressed her shock to MTV News and likely her outrage at the flagrant disregard for family values and basic human decency. There was a brief national outcry regarding M.I.A.'s middle finger following the big game, but it quickly subsided. In March 2014, it was reported that the NFL was suing the Sri Lankan singer for $16.6 million in restitution, a significant increase from the $1.5 million it was asking for in March 2012. This stupid incident became a thing again. The NFL finally settled the lawsuit with M.I.A. in August 2014, but the agreements were not made public. Jim McMahon's full moon over New Orleans. Nobody was more famous or had more personality than quarterback Jim on the famous Chicago Bears team of 1985, which had a personality that lasted for days. GQ's description by Michael Weinrib comes close to doing him justice. He enjoyed drinking beer, did not particularly like authority figures, and played with such reckless abandon that once, during a playoff game, he managed to tear his kidney apart like a Mylar balloon. In Super Bowl 20, the Bears dominated New Orleans, but their quarterback went above and beyond. McMahon reportedly threw a monster fit after the team refused to allow an acupuncturist to travel. Weinrib says that on media day he chewed gum and spat tobacco simultaneously while denouncing his newfound fame, denouncing the media, and denouncing the very idea of work itself, and that he chewed gum and spat tobacco. McMahon consumed a lot of alcohol throughout the week, urinated in public, and even called New Orleans women a very derogatory term for which he claims he received death threats. McMahon's decision to silence members of the media whom he claimed in an interview with ESPN were obsessive in their search for information regarding a contusion on his butt was the crowning achievement of his rebellious streak without a cause. And finally, on to number 1, Barret Robbins. Believe it or not, the Oakland Raiders, who have been largely irrelevant ever since, were scheduled to play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Super Bowl 37, which would result in a crushing defeat. Despite the fact that nothing went Oakland's way in that game in February 2003, having to play without Pro Bowl center Barret Robbins was definitely not helpful. Determined beforehand to have despondency as soon as 97, Robbins was a flakeout for the greatest round of his life. As composed by Sajid Farouk of NBC Straight Region, leaving his mentors and partners in a reel, making sense of his unexpected non-appearance. Farouk wrote in 2009 that Robbins missed the game because he left his San Diego hotel without his wallet and his cell to party in Tijuana, Mexico, which would not be fully explained for 6 years in an interview with HBO. He was admitted to the hospital soon after and was given a diagnosis of bipolar disorder, which is why he had 2 similar stays there. In 2004, Robbins was let go by the Raiders before the regular season because he had a positive test for steroids. He would soon realize that the end of his NFL career was only the beginning of his problems. Robbins eventually broke the law by self-medicating with alcohol and substance abuse. That is all for today's top 10. I am so excited for this year's halftime show at the Super Bowl. Comment below what songs you're hoping to see Rihanna perform because she is gonna kill it. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time on The Rich Life.